Alright, so I figured the easiest way to make this video is to explain to you what I did. As you can see here, we got a metal box and we got a bag back here. The metal box is housing a 52 volt 20 amp hour battery. The bag houses whatever I want to put in it. Currently it's going to be my camera that I'm using right now and a tripod. So the convenient thing about both of these is that I can carry stuff with me and have extra juice. And that's the whole goal of adding a second battery in the first place. So inside this bag is another bag, which is holding my camera for protection, extra protection. Alright, so you see these metal straps. I basically measured from each side of these black stitching lines here, and it came out to be about, I think, 4 or 5 inches. I cut these with a Dremel with a metal bit and cut them down to size. And this is holding my bag in place, so I don't have to worry about the Velcro straps anymore. The Velcro straps really didn't work with this rack because the Aerial Rider Kepler rack is gigantic and really wide. So I had these, I basically made these. These are pieces of metal that you use to strap down stuff to wood and whatever else you want to use. So that's why it's got all these little holes in it. So I measured the holes on the rack and then drilled into these, so you can see my line right here. And then made the holes a little bit bigger than the actual hole on the rack itself, and then screwed them in. I did that for both sides on 2 parts of the rack. So this is really secure now. Hopefully it'll hold up, we'll see. I've had my 10-pound lock in here, as well as my camera gear and all kinds of other stuff. So far it hasn't budged at all. If it does start having problems, I may put a washer on the underside right next to the rack, so that it kind of just holds everything together a little bit better. So I wanted to do that first so I could get the battery box exactly where I wanted it, which is back here. So I gave myself enough space in here so I could still unzip the panniers, and I usually just leave them up here so they don't rattle around and hit the box, even though it does have rubber on it. But that way I can go all the way down here and close it up completely if I needed to. But the good thing about this bag, this is exactly the same thing as the Rock Bros bag that everybody gets, but this was just a little bit cheaper. I don't think they sell this particular one, but there is another model out there, so I'll leave a link to both of those in the description. But the good thing about this bag is that you can unzip it, and then you have this big pocket here that holds a lot of stuff. I threw my tripod in there today. You could throw whatever you want in there, but it zips up, and there's one on each side, so you got all this extra storage. Biggest reason I like this bag is for that. We're going to go ahead and fold it up here for right now. And then what we did is we took the box. Well, first we bought the battery that's inside the box, and got a steel box or stainless steel box. It was bare metal. It's the perfect size for this battery with space on each side. So I took the battery and I made sure, you know, everything fit before we started. And I basically just built foam around it. So I have my battery on top of foam. I used foam board from Walmart. You can get a sheet of that for really cheap, and just cut it to size. And then I stuck that first big piece in, then I stuck the battery in, and then I filled the sides up. I think I got a couple pieces on each side of the battery, and then a bunch of pieces right here to kind of hold the battery flush. And then I have a gap here that holds all of my wiring. But basically this is holding my battery. It's really secure. It doesn't bounce around. It appears that everything is working as it should. If you want to do this exact same setup, you can. However, this battery that is in here will also fit in this bag, so you could do that too. I personally think the box looks great, serves a really good purpose, and protects your battery. Now it's not completely waterproof or anything like that, so I would keep it out of the rain. But I'm sure that if you sealed it up, you could probably make it waterproof. I might do that in the future. who knows. That was it. I just installed the battery in here, painted the box black. This is bed liner paint, and it came out really nice. I would suggest primering first. If you can find black primer, that'd be great. And just primer it first and then put a coat of this on, because it is chipping a little bit. Put a coat of primer on there and then paint everything. So I painted the lid separately on both sides, and then all sides of the box inside and out, so that it looks, you know, really good. So take the battery off. Inside the battery here, there is a little port that houses the metal connections for your battery, so it makes a good connection to the whole system. And then underneath this plastic port that holds the battery connections is a XT60 connection, which connects to the controller. So you basically pull your battery off, unscrew this, there's just 2 screws that hold it together, and then you pull this out. Now that XT60 connection is shoved down inside the frame in here. Alright, so underneath here, you need to find this cable right here. It's kind of flat. Inside of here, right there, is an XT60 connection. So what we're trying to do here, we're trying to pull this out so that I can access it. This one goes to the controller, and then this little box that we pulled off here, it goes to the battery. So this is the cable that you're going to connect to the battery blender. This is your battery, your main battery. And then this cable, once we pull it out, will be your controller. This goes to the controller, which the controller's right over here. See this little rubber grommet that's up in here? You have to pry that out. I used a putty knife to get the edge separated, and then I took a Allen key and just kind of stuck it up inside there and rotated it down, and then it eventually just popped off, and then I was able to pull this cable straight out. Now we're taking our bottom piece and we're fishing that cable down there, and we're just going to pull it so that we can then screw this back on, and this cable is sticking out at the bottom. So now I got the cable ran down through so that it is down at the bottom like so. So we have a cable there and another one over here. That's where we're gonna run the cables for the battery blender. I'm placing my battery blender underneath the battery box, right where the cables are gonna come out of, and they're gonna plug into here, and then I'll run all the other cables down along the rack to the controller and battery. Now I'll take these cables, kind of run them up here like so. Try to hide these wires as much as you can, just to make it look nice. Probably go ahead and zip tie this a couple times and run it back there behind it. We'll come up here behind the bag. That way kind of just wraps around the bag back here, and we'll stick these. Well, first we'll connect these. Let's take this one here. Actually, let's put the controller in first. So good enough. And then we'll take and stick these cables through this port. Should be big enough that you can do this. And this will just kind of hold everything in place, make it look really nice, and you won't ever have to look at this again. Well, unless you have to do some maintenance or something. Alright, so like I said, we ran those cables up all the way to the battery blender. Here's the battery blender. Basically what it is 3 XT60 ports. 1 male and 2 females, I believe. I might have that backwards. We can pull one of these off. Make sure my bike's off. Yeah, so we can pull one of these off and I'll show you. Yeah, it's 2 males, 1 female, so 3 ports. The 2 males go to the battery and the 1 female goes to the controller. So basically these are the XT60 connections that we ran up from the battery and the controller, and they just plug into this. And this is called a battery blender or a fusion battery combiner or whatever you guys want to call it. It basically splits your battery into 2 and makes it act like one big battery. So it combines the batteries into one in parallel, I believe. And then this little port here is the charging port for this battery. So you do have to charge each battery separately. They do make some blenders that have a battery port for charging out there if you want to get that. I've heard it takes a little bit longer for you to charge both batteries that way. My suggestion would be just charge each battery separately. It doesn't take long. With this battery that you get from UPP, I'll leave a link in the description for that. It is a great battery. It has grade A cells in it. It comes with a 4 amp charger right now, and there is a potential that they could run out of those 4 amp chargers and you may get a 3 amp charger. Either way though, they're both really good chargers. They charge the battery quickly, this one, and then you use your stock charger for your stock battery. So the UPP battery is a 52 volt 20 amp hour, just like the stock one over here. Really good quality. I've had really good luck with them. I've used a couple of their batteries before. I know a lot of people use UPP batteries, and if you go to the link in my description for this battery, it's a little bit cheaper than most places, and it has 3 to 5 day shipping, so you don't have to wait for it to come from China. It actually comes from California, I believe. So you take the XT60 straight from the battery and you plug it into the battery combiner, battery blender, and then you take the other 2 and you plug it into the battery blender. The cable on my battery was long enough to come out of the box and plug straight into here. Your 2 male ports are for your battery. Your 1 female port is for your controller. So you'll just need to follow the cable. You can't get it wrong, because if you make the cables, you're going to do 1 male and 1 female. If you buy the cables, they're going to be 1 male and 1 female XT60 on each side. So there's no way you can get it wrong. It only plugs in one way. So your controller, once you plug it in, it'll have the other end on the other side that will hit this perfectly. And the same with the batteries. So then you just connect it to this. It should turn into a big 40 amp hour battery. The distance that you'll get out of this is ridiculous. Now you do want to mount your battery blender in a spot that's going to get good airflow. I decided to put mine right on the bottom of the box, just for the fact that it's easier to get the cables to. I can hide them pretty decently, and then this gets lots of airflow. Also, the port is big enough that it should get airflow into it where all the cables are. And basically all the excess cable that I had from the XT60 connections I made, I just shoved them in the box. So it made it real easy for wire management. And I like this outcome. I think it looks really good. But you can also use a bag or whatever method you want. It's really for you guys to come up with your own idea. But you're welcome to steal my plans. I don't mind. I'm going to give you a full write-up on my blog to tell you exactly how to do all this stuff. I have full written instructions already. So I will be posting that probably after this video. So stay tuned for that as well. And that'll make it a little bit easier to follow. You can print those directions out. The other things on the back of here are some shred lights. I haven't done a video about those yet, but I have a bunch of shred lights that I'm reviewing. I'm going to show you all of these one day. But those are just red flashing lights that are on the back of the box for more visibility. So the material list, I'll just read it out to you because I got it all written down. You'll need at least 2 XT60 connections if you do my exact setup. You might need a third one to run an extension from this battery to the battery blender. This one you'd probably only need about a foot long. The other 2 need to be about 4 feet long. I think they sell a 1.5 meter extension cable. You'll need, of course, the battery blender, the box, the lid, the screws, and the battery. The battery does come with the 4 amp charger or 3 amp charger, depending. And buy that from my link so you get the best deal. Also, you'll work with Luna, who is a friend of mine that I've been working with for years with UPP. And she's very great to work with and will walk you through the whole process. We actually just sold a battery to somebody with a Kepler yesterday. So that's a good thing. Either way, you're going to need shrink wrap, so get some shrink wrap. If you're going to make your own cables, you're going to need XD60 connections. I'll show you those. So you'll need an 1.5 inch hole saw to drill this hole out of the metal. You'll need a metal one, which they're fairly cheap. You can get those at any hardware store. I got mine from Lowe's. I have screws and washers holding this box down, so you'll need 4 washers, both regular washers and rubber washers. Of course, you'll need a drill for all of this. You'll need some bed liner paint or flat black or something, whatever color you want to go with. You can also vinyl wrap this. You can do a different color if you want. It's totally personal preference. The bolts that go into the rack are M5 bolts. I'll leave links to the ones I used in the description. You basically just screw right into the rack with M5 bolts and it goes down really good. I applied blue Loctite to all the bolts that went to the rack so that if for any reason they were to rattle loose, they don't with the Loctite. Blue Loctite allows you to still remove them. I may go back, if I decide to leave this as a permanent solution, I may go back and put in red Loctite to lock it down permanently. And then you'll need some foam to kind of keep everything nice and secure and not bounce metal to metal. Stay tuned for the next video where we go through and run a test on the new battery system, see how well it performs. We're going to do speed tests in the future. We're going to do some PAS tests. We're going to test the pedal assist level, and we're going to do all kinds of stuff in future videos. So stay tuned for more with the Aerial Rider Kepler. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.